Welcome back. This is the Brutally Honest Loan Officer podcast. I am one of the hosts, Derek Brown, and this is Stephen Brock. Stephen, say hi.
Hi, everyone. So excited for another podcast going on today. We just got off our corporate coaching call going over some annual mortgage reviews. So this kind of goes right into that, discussing what happens after you purchase a home.
Yeah, so, you work so hard to save up money, have the right credit score, do everything that's needed in order to purchase a home, and then what? Now that you've done it, you don't need to save money again. You don't have to worry about your credit. It doesn't matter. The house will clean and maintain itself. There's just nothing for you to do afterwards, right?
Exactly.
Wrong.
No,
chance.
it doesn't do that.
No chance. Like everything you just took on a ton of responsibility. After buying a house, there's just so many things you got to look out for. All the spam mail you're going to get. I literally had a customer that closed 2 weeks ago, and he sent me 6 different little pieces of mail that it looked like it was the mortgage from our company reaching out to him saying like, we've been trying to reach you. And he's like, have you really been trying to reach me? No, dude. Like, I would just call you if I knew this is all spam. And he's like, this is really misleading. Like, it's kind of terrifying. I was like, I know. But
people don't realize like all that when you close your mortgage, it goes into the public record unless the mortgage is still there publicly unless some firefighters, police officers and stuff like that can hide their address.
You can hide it, or if you do it in a trust, sometimes you can avoid it. Just depends.
But they know who did your mortgage, the mortgage firm or whoever did it. Like they're gonna see it. It's public information. And so they will send you mail. And if you look in the fine print, it'll say like not associated with a mortgage firm. But it's such fine print on, page 10, whatever they send you.
So, but I tell my clients once we close, you're going to get a ton of mail. Anything that looks, official or important, take a picture, send it to me. Almost every single time I'm going to tell you, shred it.
Yep.
So it's just crazy. Those companies are only keeping my clients in touch with me.
It's crazy. Is like, so I closed on my house almost 3 years ago to the date of our new one, and I'm still getting that mail.
Oh yeah,
still get it.
Well, and you're a veteran too, so
yeah,
they're probably targeting veterans and stuff like that. Looking out for that Earl.
Yeah, they're waiting. But like you said, saving money, that is a huge one. You save so much money to purchase that house, and especially if you're going from renting to buying, you saved all that money. You use it in there, and now what do you do? What if something breaks? What if X or Y or Z happens to the house? So you need to start putting money aside, at least 3-6 months worth of living expenses or emergency fund, whatever you want to call it, so that if something does happen, you have something to fall back to. Because there's no more, especially if you're renting, there's no more calling the landlord like, hey, this is broken, come fix it. Like, yeah, you're going to call somebody to come fix it, but it's going to cost you money to fix it.
Dude, and I tell people this on a regular basis, and it's from personal experience. So when we bought our first house, we closed in May, and the end of August, our AC unit died. So we're in like the heat of the summer, and our AC unit no longer works. We've got to get a whole brand new one. And it was like back then, it was like $6,500. Like my wife was so upset about it. Like she was almost in tears. She was ready to like call her mom and ask for a loan. And I was like, hey, like we have the money saved. Like this sucks, but at least we have the money. Like that's what savings is for. So we ended up having to go into savings and buy a new AC unit. But had we not had some savings, we would have had to then take out a loan, do the 12-month financing or something, or borrow from family or something like that. And that's just usually it's not the best move. So luckily we had some savings, and it's just from my own personal experience. I've been telling that to every single person I talk to about buying a house. You've got to recoup your savings. And it's just like a lot of it comes into the maintenance, like maintaining your home. When you buy a car, you don't just drive it for 4 years without getting an oil change or new tires or rotating and stuff like that. So you've got to do the same thing for your home. You've got to check the roof. You got to check the plumbing, air conditioner, So all appliances, make sure you keep your warranties filed. And if you don't know what to look for, a lot of those companies offer super cheap maintenance contracts. Like I've got a buddy who's a plumber, $99 a year, and he visits 2 times a year to check all of our plumbing. That's worth it to me. And then I've got an HVAC guy, similar concept. Comes out, checks everything, reminds me of like
Changing
regular monthly
filters.
maintenance, like change the filters, do the vinegar and stuff like that. There's just little things that can, make your home last so much longer without something breaking. Because it's expensive. Owning a home can be expensive. Now, it's usually a smart investment, but not maintaining the home is also going to hurt your property value. So it's just there. I can't say it enough. Maintenance is one of the most important things you can do when you're a homeowner.
Keeping those warranties. What about then you start upgrading the house, looking
Yeah.
for more, energy efficient appliances, especially if you have an older home, more energy efficient appliances, windows, insulation, like you said, keeping the house cool. I mean, being in Florida, like especially in newer homes in Florida, a lot of our houses are very, very, very tightly built. That this time of the year, it's like, oh my gosh, like the AC doesn't run at all because it's once it's cool, it stays cool.
Yeah.
You're like, oh
Yeah. We've had some cooler weather lately. So windows open, breeze coming in. It's
yeah,
kind of
you just need
nice.
stuff to circulate. But if you have an older home, you might have where you need to check the window. Sometimes it's just having somebody come in there and recaulk around the windows so air doesn't
Right.
leak out, kind of thing.
Right. I mean, and there's certain upgrades. I know in our first home, we did a small kitchen remodel. We did a little bit of a bathroom remodel. Um, we totally changed landscaping in the front yard and backyard. I will say though, like I was not prepared for the kitchen remodel because I didn't think about the fact that we weren't going to have a sink for a couple weeks. And that led to us like doing dishes in the bathtub. Like that's just not something I thought about. Didn't really plan that one through. But I mean, it's just stuff like that. But that also, when we went to sell our house, we had a renovated kitchen, upgraded bathrooms, newer landscape. We also, I mean, we had a hurricane come through, insurance claim got us a new roof, so that was something that helped us. And that's another part of, homeowners insurance. That's something you can review annually, so if you're not looking at it annually and you get your renewal in the mail and you don't pay attention, there's a good chance it's increasing, especially over the last couple of years here in Florida. There's been somewhat of an issue with homeowners insurance, and there's been some companies that are simply dropping, they're leaving the state, they're not writing new policies, so they'll continue to work with current ones, but they're not writing anything new, so then you're getting non-renewed. Some insurance companies then don't try to put you in a different with a different insurance company or carrier, so the next thing you know, you don't have homeowners insurance and the mortgage company puts you in a forced place homeowners insurance policy, which are like 3 times as expensive as a normal, so that's another thing, once you're a homeowner, every single year, make sure you're reviewing your homeowners insurance policy, looking for any savings. If you put a new roof on, get a wind mitigation done, send that to your insurance company. You should be able to get a credit. That should lower, the total cost of what you're paying each year.
Yeah, the homeowners insurance is the biggest one that you need to review, like you said, every single year with it.
Right.
There's going to be it's going to increase just over time. Things increase, so it's going to increase. But when you
Right.
see those jumps, that's what you need to start questioning.
Right.
Like we were talking before, just doing mortgage reviews for clients that people are saving money on it. Where we just, hey, your insurance doesn't seem right. I'm going to send this to somebody. They review it for them. An insurance broker, and like, yeah, this is what it needs to be, and we're changing it to this.
Right.
And saves them
Well, and I
hundreds
mean,
of
if you
dollars.
think about somebody that bought a house too, like let's say 4 years ago, and they bought it for, $500,000. So the value that when you look at the homeowners insurance policy, it usually takes in the account of like the cost to rebuild the home. So it's not going to have a policy amount for 500,000. But let's just say 4 years later, the house is worth 750. And are they still insured for like 400 and change? You know, so if that house does burn down and they get 400 and change, that's not going to cover the rebuild of the house. You know, so your insurance policy should increase over time as your home value is increasing. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a little annoying if you like, you know, the lower payment, of course, but you get what you pay for. So you want to have good insurance that, you know, is properly covering your house.
The other thing we see is with the home, just a homeowner insurance, is somebody replaces the roof. Hey, it's time to replace the roof. They never tell the insurance company. So the
Yeah.
insurance company is still going off of when they first got insurance from them. And as the roof ages, they're just saying, hey, the roof is now this many years old, this many years old, and you had it
Yep.
replaced. Like, you need to do a wind mit report, give it back to the homeowner's insurance, say, hey, my roof was replaced, here's the wind mit report, and they're going to lower your insurance based off of the new roof you have. I
Yeah.
have
So there's
clients
the
a couple of
roof,
years.
plumbing, HVAC, and then the hot water heater. Those are like, along with the roof, those are the 4 big ticket items that really affect how much your insurance costs. Yeah. So if you replace any of those, let the insurance company know, hey, got a new hot water heater. The previous one was 20 years old. Fantastic. You should get savings, you know? So, but a lot of people don't, you know, think to let them know, or don't even know that they should update their insurance company.
Yeah. So other thing, property taxes.
Hey, yo, you
Hold
got
on.
until March 1st, everybody.
So
This
this
is
is
your reminder. File for
remind
homestead.
file if it is your primary residence, file for homestead. We were on our coaching call, and one of the coaches said they had a client that bought in 2020 and never filed for homestead. They would have been saving, I think he said over $800 a
Over
year.
$800 a month, yeah. Or a year,
A year, a year.
$800 a year.
He would definitely file for home. The other thing is, when you're filing for homestead, it locks in the current value of that house, where the taxable value, so they can only increase it so much,
Yeah,
per
it's capped
year.
at what, 3% per year?
3%. Yep. So they can
Yeah, so
only
you're
increase
gonna have
that.
the first year where it reassesses,
Yes.
usually, and then after that, it can't increase more than 3%. So I mean, think about what that could save you over
Not your
years if you
taxes.
didn't
It's
do
not
it.
your tax. It's your taxable value.
Right.
So I mean, if your county decides to raise taxes, the millage rate of taxes, then yes, your taxes can increase more than 3%. But it's your taxable
Right.
value. So you bought it for easy numbers, 200,000, 3%. So the next year they can only say it's worth 206 for taxable value.
Right.
So
No,
that's
that's
that.
and if anybody's listening to this too and thinking like, oh, I didn't file for homestead yet. I had a buddy that worked at our company who went 10 years without filing for homestead. He thought he did for whatever reason. And then sure enough, we looked into it because he got an increase and he's like, man, I get an increase every year. And I'm like, buddy, you probably don't have homestead. And he's like, of course I do. Sure enough, he didn't. It was over 10 years. You
They
know,
will.
so
What's most counties, I mean, I doubt they're going to go back 10 years, but like, if you didn't file, you're supposed to file in 23, and now you're filing here in 24. If you go to the county, now you have to go in person, some of them will push it back to 23 and say, okay, this is when
well,
you're homestead, and we'll give you the money back with it.
and I think most counties will do it like there's a 3-year timeline, I think. But that's also the 3-year timeline relates to portability too. So if you owned a home, like I live in Seminole County in Florida, and when we sold our house, we were able to transfer the amount of homestead exemption we had on the first house to our new house in the form of portability, is what they call it. So that's just, additional savings. It's our homestead from the first house, added to, this one for additional savings. So it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things, super important, really easy to forget, but super important to file for homestead.
I mean, it's so simple to do. Everything's electronic now. You could easily just go on the county website and apply for it
As long as you do it on time. If
on
you wait
time.
until after, like I bought a house last year, I had until March 1st in order to do it. After that, I think you have to go in person.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now that we filed for homestead, we've got a good mortgage insurance or homeowners insurance policy. I'm getting accustomed to my new payment. Like what next? this is a time where once you've got accustomed to that new payment, could you pay more? Start paying a little bit extra towards principal. What's the calculation? So one extra payment, like full payment towards your principal per year, takes 7 years off the life of the loan. So you take a 30-year mortgage down to a 23-year mortgage just by making one extra payment towards the principal.
Yeah.
So that's where, and I've talked to customers too, where they're like, oh, I'm definitely going to pay more. Well, just get used to the new payment first. And if you've got excess savings and you want to pay down that mortgage loan sooner, by all means, go for it.
Yeah, it's when you have the perfect world. You got everything saved up. You have that emergency fund. You have the other stuff, whatever it might be, investments and stuff like that. And you're just like, I have a little bit extra. I'm going to put in. I do what we do in our household is whatever the payment is, we just round it up to the nearest 100. So it adds,
So if it's 2450, you go 2500.
Yep. So it's exactly the same every single month, 2500, 2500, 2500. I mean, we were doing that for the longest time on our old house. I mean, it does just make that mortgage become less and less. So, over the year, will it add enough to it? Probably not, for the one, but it adds a little bit more to it. It's something that we could easily do,
Right.
And budgeting every month, you already have it calculated. Like, oh, is it 24 or something, whatever. Like, no, it's 2500. Easy math. Boom,
Yeah.
done.
Easy math. Easy math.
So taxes are done. Do you make an extra payment? Insurance is done. What about, is it time to do some renovations? Is it time to more home improvement projects? What
Right.
we don't want, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to put a pool in because it's going to add so much more value.
Huh.
And it does not at all. I mean, I think on the appraisals that I have seen, I think what I can remember, the highest amount that I've seen an appraiser give a pool to a non-pool house was like $25,000.
I had a customer with they were buying a very, very nice house with a very, very nice pool, and they got 40,000 compared to another similar house with no pool. But when my wife and I, again, that first house we bought, we loved one house, and then there was another house down the street, exact same floor plan, same model, everything, and it was $10,000 more. Why was it $10,000 more? Because it had a pool and the other home didn't. So we bought a pool for 10 grand.
Yeah.
It's it, like, so there's no way we could have built a pool for 10 grand. Heck no. But that previous owner that put in the pool.
Can you build a pool for 40 grand? I think a regular pool.
You can get an awesome above ground pool. Yes. Yes, you could do that.
Yeah.
But an in-ground pool with the deck and screen enclosure and stuff like that.
I don't think so. I don't even think you're going to be close to it.
I don't even think you could do it at cost if you were a pool builder.
No, I don't think so. So if you're adding a pool, you're adding a pool to use it, not to increase your value. That's the biggest thing.
Do it for the right reasons. So because you want it, and that's okay.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Are you, if you're doing home improvements, there are certain home improvements you can do that are going to give you more value than others by percentage wise. You might have a return, an ROI on it by 94, 96%. So you're going to get a lot more out of it. But you have to be knowing that you're using these things to, is it not necessarily just increasing the value? Is it helping your livelihood with it? Is it something you actually want? That's what you need to be focusing on. Stuff that you actually want, hey, I want a newer kitchen, whatever, it's outdated. I want to put in a new kitchen. Great.
Right.
Is it going to give you all the value back? Probably not.
No, kitchens are good. Kitchens get close to the value that you put in. Flooring is another one that is close to the value you put in.
Landscaping is the other one.
Landscaping, painting, but painting can be cheap. And then that's when it comes to renovations, bathroom remodels, stuff like that. But you don't want to do it in a way that only you are going to like it. So just be careful when you're picking out different, fixtures and paint colors and stuff like that, because you don't want it to be so specific to you that nobody else is going to like it, because that could hurt you when you go to resell too.
Did you pick out any of yours? Or did
I did not.
did your
No,
wife
that
pick it
was
all?
all the wife,
Yeah.
and she has great taste, and she increased our value. So
Yeah.
if it were me, people would have not wanted to buy our house. I don't know. But I would have just gone to her for advice anyways. I
Yep.
love her taste. So, um, but yeah, so going through that, and then the other thing you can do after you buy a house too, is get to know your neighbors. And then especially if you buy in an HOA, there's so many people that go back and forth on whether or not an HOA is good or bad. I think that it's usually there for the right reasons, but can get annoying. The neighborhood we lived in before had an HOA. We've gotten the letters where you need to clean your fascia or your sidewalk's dirty, stuff like that, which is annoying. However, it keeps our neighborhood clean. But then one day, all of a sudden, they were digging in our yard because they were putting in a speed limit sign. And then they put in like speed bumps throughout the neighborhood. And that was something like I was unaware of, but I didn't go to the HOA meeting. I didn't read the letter they sent. So had I gotten involved, I would have, known about that, or been even, I don't know, possibly able to vote for or against it, type of thing. So there's benefits to having an HOA. I would say if you're going to live in an HOA, being an active member or on the board can be helpful, because you'll know about everything that's happening, but also just get to know your neighbors. I grew up in a small little cul-de-sac where we knew all of our neighbors, and it was just great. Halloween, garage sales, all that stuff. We all came together and stuff. So it's just, you get to know people. Doesn't hurt you.
Unless you're an introvert.
If that's the case, stay inside and just
Yeah.
wave.
Just wave.
But
Just
yeah,
wave.
and that's another thing. People need to wave.
They
When
don't
you're
wave.
driving through a neighborhood, I'm the guy, I'll wave to everybody. Hey, how are you? And when the people look at me and then just don't do anything, oh, I'm gonna ram my car into you next time. And I don't know why it makes me so mad. It's like you might as well give me the bird, or you could just simply wave back, and then
That's
my
it.
day's great.
Yeah. It's
Are
like
you
when
a
you
waiver,
let,
Stephen?
I
Are you
do
a
wave.
waiver?
I wave.
God,
And I get very
end
mad.
this podcast right now.
And I'm like, they made eye contact. They saw me. They
Oh,
saw
yeah.
me wave.
Yeah.
It's like
But
when you
my
let
wife,
somebody
my
in a
wife
parking
will
lot.
not look at anybody driving by. She just like tunnel vision, and I'm like, "Honey, they're waving. I wave for you." She's like, I don't want to wave." That rude.
You don't have to talk to him. You just gotta wave. Like
Yeah, just wave.
it's like when somebody crosses in front of you in the parking lot or a street, and you let them go ahead of you, and you're like,
Yeah.
either you wave at me or you act like you're running faster. Like I don't care if you move, just look like you're moving faster.
Yeah.
Either wave, say thank you, or act like you're moving faster.
Oh man, waivers, non-waivers, get out of here.
All right. So what about financial planning too? With it, you bought this house. We're talking about saving this money, what we can do with stuff, being friendly with our neighbors. But what other assets are you planning on purchasing in the future? Are there, you have kids. You bought this house because you needed more space, and you have kids now. What college funds are you doing? You're looking at maybe vacation homes, and so these are a lot of things that people. I mean, there was a big increase. I mean, real estate has increased what? I'm trying to think. What it was only 6 years out of the 90 something years that it didn't increase. And
We talked about appreciation. How many years
yeah,
we had like positive? Yeah, I think it's 6, and then well, 3 of them were like 06, 07, 08, or 07, 08, 09, like that.
Yep.
And then one of the years was just flat, so it just didn't have an increase, but it was 0.
Yeah.
So not a bad thing. As you're paying down your mortgage, you're still seeing small increase. I think this, like, everybody, not everybody, but most people, when they go to buy a house, they really budget. They figure out what they can afford. How do we do this? They meet with loan officers like us. They work on their credit. They do this and that. And then afterwards, they don't do that until they're ready to buy the next house. Then they kind of go through that process again, like how much money do we have in equity? Has my credit score increased or decreased or whatever? And I just think it's one of those things, like financial planning is something that you should be doing consistently, even after you buy a house, so that then you can plan for purchases in the future. You can plan for allocating funds to, college funds. Just planning for that, just like you did for when you bought your house. Sit down with a financial advisor, find out like what your 401k from your company is diversified in. My financial advisor helped me change the stocks that the mortgage firm offers in our 401k. So I don't know. I feel like so many people go through the planning process to buy the home and then stop after that. They don't continue to plan. They don't continue to budget the way they did before. And I'd like to see people continue doing that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You need to continue that process. You've already made it a habit. Continue that process because you never know what's going to happen, in your life with the home, with whatever it is. So you already have money saved. You have all these things working to the best of to you. Like you just said, like you just tweaked your 401k. Like, it's a little better. Like most people will just set it and then forget it kind of thing.
Right.
And that's what happens. Hey, I bought the house. Now I forget everything I did with it.
Yeah. Yeah. People paying off debt in order to buy the house. And then, oh my goodness, they buy the house. You know what? Rooms to go, put it on a card. Home Depot, put it on a card. Next thing you know, they've got more debt now after they bought the house than they did before. And that's usually not what we're trying to do. I understand sometimes there's really good deals and 0% interest for 6 months. Well,
You better
still
pay it
shouldn't
off in
buy it if you
six
don't have
months.
the money. Yeah, I feel like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Exactly.
Just be careful with that. Um, and then I guess like, do you know what the number one thing I think people should do after they buy a house?
Call me.
Follow us on social media and listen to this podcast to stay informed.
Well, I want to put it out there because we've been in our company, in our coaching groups, we've been talking about these annual mortgage reviews, going over and trying to say people, this is not, we're talking about this. If anybody has a mortgage out there that wants a review, reach out to us. Happy to help you with it. And it's not about,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
I have a 3% interest rate. What can you do for me? It's not that. We're looking at, is your insurance right? Is your taxes right? Is the
Yeah.
mortgage make sense?
I want to help you now. Is there a way that we can help you save money now? That's what we've been doing.
On your current mortgage, not refinancing it. That'll come
don't
down.
want to refinance you. There's a really small chance that it would make sense for you to refinance right now, unless we're looking at like debt consolidation and you've got a ton of equity. Other than that, there probably is no reason to refinance. But we're seeing some massive savings on current customers. So reminding them to file for homestead. We've been looking at homeowners insurance policies to see if there's any savings there. Customer that we had that I had bought 2 years ago, he's about to save $248 by removing his mortgage insurance.
That's the biggest one.
$248 a month.
That is the biggest one. People that have gotten loans, conventional loans, less than 20% down, assume mortgage insurance will fall off on its own eventually.
No.
If you do not trigger
I've got to find it.
It doesn't happen.
I've got to find it too, because somewhere, I think it's 12 years is when it will come off automatically, or once you have like 30% equity to have it come off automatically. Otherwise, it's 25%. Like if you look into it, because I used to think it was 20 or 22, but more recently, I've got to find that thing from one of our MI reps. But it's 25% equity. But once you pass the 2-year mark, if you've got the 25% equity, you reach out to the servicer and you can request it be removed. Worst case, they do an appraisal. Okay, so you spend a couple $100. Most likely that's going to be like a desktop appraisal, and so that's when you got to let them know if they're having a little upgrades and stuff like that. But that's just an easy way to save money on your current mortgage.
Yeah. And people were not doing it. Like you said, they did not, they just assumed.
Right.
Even though we have told them, and this came up on your annual mortgage review with your client, like, hey, you need to do this. And how much you're saving them. That one phone call saved them thousands of dollars.
$248 per month.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Love it.
Well, Derek, it's been great.
Steven.
Now we know what to do after we buy a house. Find a lender that is actually going to be your lender for life and not just do your mortgage and say, hey, goodbye, we're done, kind of thing. Like it's supposed to continue the relationship, make sure that everything is going good with you. But thanks for being on.
Hey, I love this podcast. So everybody listening, thanks for joining us. This is the Brutally Honest Loan Officer Podcast. We're out.
Peace.